The sun had barely begun to rise over the quiet town of Pine Ridge when an unusual sound echoed through the empty police station. It wasn't the usual rap of a human knock. It was deeper, more persistent. Officer Eliza Brooks paused, her pen frozen mid-sentence as the knock came again, her brow furrowed in confusion. It wasn't a sound she recognized. She stood up, glanced around the room, and walked toward the door, flashlight in hand. As she reached for the handle, she felt a wave of unease wash over her. Cautiously, she opened the door, unsure of what to expect. What she saw left her speechless. A huge black bear, standing on its hind legs, was gently tapping the door with its paw, its eyes meeting hers with an intensity that was hard to describe. There was no aggression in its gaze, just a quiet urgency, a silent plea. Eliza stood frozen for a moment, unsure of how to respond. The bear made no move toward her, its posture calm but expectant. Its breath came out in slow, steady puffs, visible in the chilly morning air. Eliza's heart raced, but she didn't feel fear, just a strange sense of curiosity and confusion. She quickly called to her colleagues, "Marco, Jess, get over here, now." Within moments, Officers Marco Sanchez and Jess Carter appeared, their confusion giving way to disbelief as they took in the sight of the bear. It continued its slow knocking, its paw tapping the door rhythmically. "Is it asking for something?" Marco asked, voice low with awe. Jess raised an eyebrow, probably just hungry, could be looking for food. But Eliza wasn't so sure. Something about the bear's action seemed too intentional, too deliberate. Her gaze shifted, and she saw something unusual. The bear was holding a torn piece of fabric in its mouth, a backpack strap, covered in mud and specks of blood. The bear dropped the strap at their feet and took a step back, its eyes still locked onto them. "This is no accident," Eliza said, her voice serious as she picked up the fabric, her gloves brushing against the rough material. "There's something wrong." The bear let out a low, deep growl, a sound that wasn't threatening, but instead filled with urgency. It then turned and lumbered away into the woods, pausing at the tree line as if waiting for them to follow. "You really think we should follow it?" Jess asked, a hint of skepticism in her voice, though she was already grabbing her gear. Eliza nodded, determination in her eyes. "We don't have a choice. If this bear is trying to tell us something, we're going." The trio quickly gathered their equipment and radioed for backup, though they knew help would take too long to arrive. They followed the bear into the forest, the early morning light barely filtering through the thick canopy above. The air was cool, and the muddy trail made each step treacherous. The bear moved with ease, its large frame gliding effortlessly over the uneven ground. It paused every now and then, checking to see if they were still behind, then continued its journey with quiet determination. "This doesn't feel right," Marco muttered as they came upon a patch of disturbed earth. There were deep claw marks in the soil, and branches were scattered around, broken as if something had been fighting or fleeing. The bear's huff was insistent, almost as if it was urging them to keep going. The sound of rushing water became more prominent, echoing through the trees. Soon, the dense forest gave way to a steep ravine, the sight below stopping them in their tracks. At the bottom of the ravine, lying on a narrow ledge, was an elderly man. His white hair was matted with blood and mud, and one of his legs was trapped beneath a fallen log. The rising water was inching closer, threatening to drown him. "Is he alive?" Jess whispered, fear in her voice. Eliza's heart raced as she surveyed the scene. "He's still breathing, but barely. We need to get him out now." The bear, its eyes still locked onto the officers, paced along the edge of the ravine. It made no move to help, but stayed close, watching intently. The urgency in its posture was undeniable. Marco quickly radioed for rescue support, while Jess began to unpack their climbing gear. Eliza's hands shook as she tied the ropes. Among the wreckage, she found more clues: torn hiking gear, a frayed climbing rope, and a backpack. It was the same strap the bear had dropped earlier. The sight made her stomach twist. "There's no time to waste," Marco called out, peering down into the ravine with binoculars. "He's alive, but we need to move fast." The bear stayed close, its quiet huffs echoing in the silence as the officers worked, its presence steady and almost reassuring. The rescue was harrowing. The ground was unstable, and every step felt precarious. The officers worked as quickly as they could, relying on their training to keep the operation under control. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they managed to pull the man to safety. As they helped him to his feet, he whispered the name that had them all pause: Lena. The bear's ears perked up, and it let out a soft, mournful sound. Eliza's heart skipped a beat. "Lena?" she repeated, looking at the bear in shock. "Is that your name?" The man, now identified as Samuel Gray, was a retired wildlife conservationist who had spent years studying the local bear population. His journal, found among the wreckage, revealed the incredible bond he had formed with the bear, Lena, over the years. He had first met her when she was a cub, and over time they had developed a unique understanding, a silent friendship built on trust and respect. Samuel's injuries were severe but not life-threatening, thanks to Lena's quick thinking. She had stayed by his side through the night, keeping him warm and alert, before seeking help from the only human she trusted. The torn strap was her way of asking for help, and her trips to the police station had been her desperate attempt to save him. The news of the rescue spread quickly, capturing hearts across the world. Footage of Lena knocking on the police station door went viral, a testament to the profound intelligence and empathy that animals possess. Experts flocked to Pine Ridge, eager to learn more about Lena and the extraordinary bond she shared with Samuel. For Eliza, Marco, and Jess, the experience was transformative. Their view of the animal world had shifted, their skepticism replaced with awe and respect. The officers gave interviews, sharing their remarkable experience with anyone who would listen. Lena, her mission complete, eventually disappeared back into the wilderness. Samuel, recovering in the hospital, often spoke of her, his gratitude immeasurable. "She didn't just save me," Samuel said in one interview. "She reminded all of us that compassion transcends everything, even species." The story of Lena and Samuel became a beacon of hope, a reminder that the world can be a kinder place when we see beyond the differences between humans and animals. In a time when the world often feels divided, Lena's quiet act of compassion proved that empathy knows no boundaries.